welcome to week 6 of English 210. We are continuing our lesson on performing literature, and I know all of you are excited because it is everyone's favorite week. Everyone's. It's our Shakespeare week. Yay! I know you guys are excited, but if you're not, that's fine. You can get through this week. I hope you learned something about Shakespeare and at least learn that his writing might be difficult, but watching the productions, it's actually fun because there's so much going on. You've got comedy, you've got drama, you've got blood baths, you've got rom-coms. His work runs the gambit. And also, what's interesting about Shakespeare is that he developed plots, characters, and ideas and themes that we see in a lot of our works today. For example, Pygmalion and My Fair Lady seem awfully familiar because they kind of seem similar to Taming of the Shrew. So that's just one example. I'm sure as you go through your chosen play, you can see some modern similarities to the work. So as always, I want you to go through the overview section. And then I'm not going to go, briefly, here are the readings. I want you to read one of these plays. I'm not expecting you to read all of them, just one. And then I also want you to read Harold Bloom's How to Write About Shakespeare, simply because it will really help you with your essay due next week if you choose to write on one of the Shakespeare plays, which you might choose to do because there is a lot of research on each of these plays. Also, one final point, I could not assign a production inside the classroom due to copyright issues. However, if you enter the title of your chosen play into YouTube, you'll be able to find a production of it. So another point I wanted to make is that the writing that you'll be reading this week, and hopefully following along with a production, is difficult, but it is in modern English. I know it's hard to believe, but it is modern English. We also call it Elizabethan English. However, a lot of our common vernacular comes from Shakespeare's plays. Also, one of the reasons why his work is tricky is because a lot of the wording is archaic. That is, we don't use those words anymore. In addition, Shakespeare wrote his plays in a poetic manner. He used iambic pentameter, and this lesson explains what an iambic pentameter is, so I'm not going to go too much in depth here, but one of the reasons that makes this quite difficult is that Shakespeare rearranges the words to fit that stress unstress pattern. All right, so and another point I wanted to make is that what's interesting about Shakespeare, and we discussed this last week in terms of how the importance of being earnest doesn't have these elaborate stage directions, whereas Pygmalion does. What's interesting about Shakespeare is that really there's little to no setting descriptions, so you can really modernize many of these productions. And in fact, I watched a production of Henry V in everyone was dressed in Star Wars costumes. I've also seen A Midsummer's Night's Dream that basically takes place in the 1920s during the flapper era. So that's basically what's interesting about Shakespeare, is that it's not tied to the Middle Ages. It actually fits into a lot of different time periods. And so you're going to be reading about each of the sections of Shakespeare's plays. You have the tragedies, you have the comedies, and you have the histories. And then this week, you also have a few assignments due. Well, basically one assignment. You have the readings, obviously, and then you have a discussion forum. And what's interesting about the discussion forum is that you're not going to be developing initial posts. Instead, you're going to choose a play, then you're going to write about a play using one of the 3 threads. There's thread 1, there's thread 2, and thread 3. You post one initial response by Thursday and then 2 more by Sunday. And what you're going to be doing is you're carrying on a conversation. So you're not posting an initial post per se. Instead, you're discussing the work with your classmates. I want you to think about this as a roundtable discussion, a classroom discussion, not necessarily something where you're writing these mini essays. All right. And then when you're done with all that, you can tell yourself, congratulations, you made it through the Shakespeare week. Hopefully it wasn't as hard as you thought it was. And I'm looking forward to reading about your thoughts online about Shakespeare. Have a great week, everyone.